The 7 reports published today on the 4 diocesan websites concerned, that's Clonfert, Cork and Ross, Kildare and Leighlin and Limerick, and the websites of the 3 religious congregations concerned, the Sacred Heart Missionaries, the Spiritans or Holy Ghost Fathers, as most of us would know them, and the Dominicans, make for very grave reading for anybody who's concerned about standards where child protection in the Catholic Church today is concerned. Many of us would have believed that after all that's happened over the last 2 decades, that those standards would be rigorously enforced in all Catholic institutions on the island of Ireland, but sadly, as these reports have made clear, that is not the case. The 3 outstanding findings would concern the Diocese of Clonfert, in particular the Sacred Heart Missionaries and the Holy Ghost Fathers, and those findings are deeply embarrassing, to say the very, very least of it, for all senior authorities in those institutions. In Clonfert, it found that Bishop John Kirby did not have a full written policy or procedures document in place at the time of the review, which was earlier this year, and that it described as a significant shortcoming which had knock-on effects where safeguarding structures in that diocese were concerned. There were 9 allegations found to have been made there against 3 priests of the diocese and 1 who had been providing a holiday cover. 1 was convicted in the courts, but 2 of those priests were moved by Bishop Kirby to other parishes when he found out about the allegations of the abuse against them. In terms of the management of the handling of these allegations, the review found that they were inappropriately dealt with by Bishop Kirby, and that he did this by attempting to manage all those cases himself. He also ran into conflict with his own safeguarding committee appointed by himself. The recommendation of the board is that this committee be dissolved. In 2010, Bishop Kirby was advised by that committee to remove 2 Redemptorist priests from their community in Esker in East County Galway, which is in Clonfert Diocese. He refused to do so until there was publicity surrounding the matter, and then that they were moved to a congregation, a Redemptorist congregation, where there was less access to children. The Sacred Heart Missionaries, well, it is very strong on this order. The review said it is difficult to express adequately the failure of this society to effectively protect vulnerable children. It described its child protection policies as deeply flawed. There were 61 allegations against 17 of these priests. 11 of them are still living, but only 1 has been convicted in the courts, and 7 of them are out of ministry. 1 priest has served a prison sentence, and this congregation, you might recall, came to public attention in July of 2011, of last year, when Senator Mark Daly raised the issue of the abuse of children by a priest who had been at the college in Craignavar, run by the Sacred Heart Missionaries there. That man, I believe, has since been sentenced to jail. Where the Holy Ghost were concerned, the review found that their files made for very sad reading, with evidence that there were serial abusers who worked in Ireland in school communities who went undetected and unchecked, giving them unmonitored access to children during the 1960s, 70s and 1980s. And we should recall that the Holy Ghost are probably one of the most prestigious orders in Ireland. They run some of its best known schools: Blackrock College, Temple Oak College, St Mary's College in Rathmines, St Michael's College and Rockwell College in County Tipperary. The review found that there have been 142 abuse allegations against Spiritan priests, 47 of them, as it happens, since January the 1st, 1975, and all these reviews go back to January the 1st, 1975. 8 of those priests are still living. 3 of them, though, have only been convicted in the courts. It also found it reasonable to believe that there are other victims of Spiritans who have not yet come forward, and these victims may be located in Ireland, Canada, the United States, Sierra Leone and other countries where the Holy Ghost have had schools. On the other dioceses they found were in Cork and Ross. There had been 50 allegations against 26 priests, 18 of whom are living. 4 have been convicted in the courts. And it said that while current practice in reporting cases there to civil authorities is described as excellent, in the past there had been delays in some cases in informing those civil authorities. The Diocese of Limerick, from which Bishop Donald Murray resigned in December 2009 following publication of the Murphy report, also it said here, received significant media attention in recent years because of the tragic death of a man who made abuse allegations to that diocese in 2006, and this was Peter McCluskey, who died at the age of 37, 3 days after he had met legal representatives of the Diocese of Limerick itself. There it found that 34 allegations had been made against 18 priests, 12 of whom are still living and none of whom have been convicted in the courts. It noted that prior to Bishop Murray, child protection practice there was very poor. In fact, it's quite complimentary of Bishop Murray's handling of the matter when from 1996 in particular. It also said there is documentary evidence in Limerick relating to a former bishop believed to be Bishop Jeremiah Newman, that while apparently having knowledge of a priest's abusive behaviour in England, he gave him facilities or faculties to minister in Limerick, where it is believed that abusive priest may have also abused again. Kildare and Leighlin, from which Bishop Jim Moriarty resigned in December 2009, also following publication of the Murphy report, it found there that there have been 18 allegations against 12 priests, 2 of whom are living and just 1 of whom has been convicted in the courts. In the cases of 6 other deceased priests about whom allegations or concerns have been raised, they said these were not done while any of these priests were alive. The diocese hadn't always made timely notifications to the Gardaí or the health services, although its performance in this area has improved, the review found. It also found that internal church processes after receiving the allegations weren't complied with either in this diocese. In other words, they didn't notify Rome as they're supposed to do. So they didn't, as is often the case in these reviews, this tranche and the current one, the church here didn't often inform the church authorities in Rome either about these cases as they're supposed to do. Where the last congregation investigated was concerned the Dominicans, there were 52 allegations, including suspicions and concerns made against 27 Dominicans, 12 of whom were still living. 4 are out of ministry, 4 have left the congregation, and 2 have been convicted in the courts. All the cases have been reported to the civil authorities, but it found a complete absence of record of canonical action, that's church action again they didn't notify Rome, as they're supposed to do. In commentary on all of this, the man who oversaw these reviews, Ian Elliott, Chief Executive of the National Board for Safeguarding Children, which is the Catholic Church's own watchdog on the implementation of child safeguarding practices, it's not an body apart from the Church. He commented on all 7 reviews that given the fact that it was understood that all Catholic institutions now complied with child safeguarding practices since February 2009, it was, as he puts it with some understatement, disappointing to find that full compliance is still some way off for some of the subjects. He continued, however, that set against this there were also many examples of excellent practice and of a strengthening of the safeguarding net framework that exists at the level of the parish. He commented too on how few convictions there have been in the courts despite the high number of allegations made against a considerably high number of priests, but said that the gap between these 2 figures, while marked, wasn't an issue that only exists within the Church and reflects a situation which is present throughout the country as a whole.